Yo, what is up guys? It's Pedro here, and in today's video I will be bringing you a 2022 Washington football team 4-round mock draft, and this time I will not be drafting a quarterback in the first round. So if you guys are new, make sure to subscribe for Washington and NFL content, hit that like button and turn on those notifications. It really does help out the channel. Also, go ahead and follow my Twitter. I'm trying to get to 1,000 followers on there. I would really appreciate it. Now, let's get right into the mock draft. So this is my second mock draft since the season ended for the Washington football team, and I already did one mock draft where I did draft a quarterback in the first round, so I wanted to switch it up a little bit, give you guys some different perspectives. So this time I will not be drafting a quarterback in the first round. Even though it is their biggest need, we'll assume they either addressed it in free agency or via trade, or they'll do it in the second or third round. As most of you guys know, the Washington football team has the 11th pick in this draft, in each round except for the 5th, I believe, because they did trade and they got a 6th round pick and a 7th round pick in their 2021 NFL draft where they drafted Cameron Cheeseman, and I don't know who else. So, they got some decent amount of draft picks and will be picking 11th at every spot. So let's go over to the mock draft simulator, and right here there are some quarterbacks available. You look at the quarterbacks: Kenny Pickett, Matt Corral, Sam Howell. All the best quarterbacks are still available, but again, I think Washington at 11 probably won't be able to pick all of the quarterbacks. I do think there will be one, maybe two quarterbacks taken before 11, because there always are quarterback needy teams in this league. You look at some other positions, there are some linebackers available that we could go after. Cornerback, not so much. And then safety also, not really any, safety I think is one of our biggest needs, but not really any great safeties available. So in this case, I would consider taking a wide receiver in the first. I normally don't like taking receivers in the first round, but this year I do really like the talent in the first round for these receivers, and there aren't really any positions that I would, that are positions of need, like safety, and quarterback we're not going to take. So I think any of these receivers would be good. Jameson Williams, I think, is the best receiver in this class. Of course, though, he might not be the first receiver taken off the board because of his torn ACL that happened very recently. He might not be ready for the season. Some teams might be concerned with that. And, just in general, you don't like to see a guy tear his ACL already before he gets into the NFL. But I still think he's going to be a first-round pick, and I really like the player. So the next, few players that, Washington could take here: Garrett Wilson, Chris Olave, both receivers from Ohio State. Very good, receivers. Good route runners, and Chris Olave did play with Terry McLaurin. Treylon Burks is one of the better receivers, and then Drake London is a name I'm seeing really high on these draft boards. They have him ranked as a 38th ranked prospect. I've seen him consistently in the top 20 in a lot of these mock drafts, so he is another guy that they could consider at this spot. But right now, I am going to go ahead and take wide receiver Garrett Wilson from Ohio State. I think he's one of the best receivers in this class. Might be the best receiver besides Jameson Williams. 6 foot, about 190 pounds. Let's go ahead and look at his stats, and then we'll look at his scouting report this past season. Had 70 catches, 1,058 yards, and 12 touchdowns, 15.1 yards per catch. He is just a yards after catch machine. So many times they use him in screens, just quick slants, and he's able to get 10, 15, 20 yards after the catch. He's super elusive, super shifty, and he's actually a pretty good blocker for a wide receiver. I think he has a pretty good release, solid at contested catches. I really do like him. His speed isn't the best, but you don't necessarily need that in the NFL. He can play in the slot. He can play on the outside. They also use him as a rusher a little bit. 6 combined attempts, and then about 140 yards with a touchdown as well. And I think he could translate well as a returner if they really did need him. That's a potential as well. He's just an all-around player, And, it's a position of need for Washington. They don't need to go out and draft a guy in the first round. They could sign a mid-tier veteran, and that's fine. But if they draft someone like Garrett Wilson, I think he will be an absolute star in this league, a consistent receiver who has over 1,000 yards per season. I think he will do that. Again, slot or on the outside. Let's read his, scouting report real quick. So dynamic threat with the ball in his hands and offers the kind of run after catch ability that is sure to command a role at the NFL level. I watched a few of his games and pretty much he just gets so many yards after the catch. I've said it a bunch, but just go ahead and watch some of these games. Anytime he gets the ball in his hands, he makes guys miss. He's strong too. It's not even that he's just elusive. He can, break through some of these tackles as well. So they think he projects best the NFL game as a slot receiver, but he can do, both of them. He can do both of them. So you guys can see the rest of his scouting report right here. I'll go through it one more time, but I think he's my favorite receiver that I've watched. I've only watched Williams, Garrett Wilson, and Chris Olave. I like Williams a little bit more than Wilson, but I do think that ACL injury is a little bit concerning, might be out for the start of the season, and that's just not a good way to start your rookie year. But if the medical team likes him, thinks he's going to be able to be ready for training camp or something like that, I would probably take Williams over Garrett Wilson. And then you look at Chris Olave, probably the best route run, better. He's a little bit of a better route runner than Garrett Wilson, a little bit quicker as well, but I like what Garrett Wilson can do with the ball in his hands a little bit more than Olave. So that is why I will be taking Garrett Wilson right here at our pick 11. Okay, so now with our second round pick, this is where it gets interesting. So a lot of the best players available are quarterbacks. You have Carson Strong, who, they have this as a 28th ranked player. I don't think he's that high. I think he's like a second round, mid to late second round, draft pick. And then you got Desmond Ridder, who I think is a little higher than Carson Strong, or at least should be. I think he's kind of a late first to mid two. I really like Desmond Ridder. I think he would be a guy that I would not draft Desmond Ridder in the first round, but if you can get him in the second or somehow in the third, I don't think that's going to happen, but the second is realistic. John Kimes talked about it where he would not be surprised if something like that happens. I would definitely take a look at Desmond Ridder. Let's go ahead and look at his stats and his measurables as well. So you look at him, he's about 6'4", 215, so he has that NFL frame, plays at Cincinnati, who, they did make the playoffs. He's a senior, and, this past year had a pretty good year, 65% completion percentage, 3,300 passing yards, 30 touchdowns, 8 interceptions, also had 355 rushing yards, and 6 touchdowns. Didn't rush the ball as well as he did the year before. I haven't watched really any film on Desmond Ridder. Still got to get to that. I've done a few quarterbacks so far. He's on, next on my list, but I'm not sure why, his yards per carry is down so much from the year before. Probably some, less designed runs, but still, nonetheless, I like Desmond Ridder. He's a good leader, 4-year starter. You love to see that experience. You love to see that experience. 4 straight years of starting at a school. That's pretty good. They made the playoffs this year. We're somewhat close to it last year. And, he's a quarterback where you can, he's not necessarily NFL ready, but he does have the experience to where if you need him to start right away, you can. But you can also sign or, trade for a veteran, someone like Jameis Winston, who I know a lot of people don't like, but I think he would be an okay bridge option. You bring him in the offseason, and hey, if Desmond Ridder clearly looks better than him, then that's great. Go ahead and start Desmond Ridder. But if not, if he looks lost or if he looks like he might take a little bit of time, then start Winston until Ridder is ready. I think that would be a really, really good idea. I didn't really like what I saw from Ridder in the Alabama game in the playoffs. Didn't really like that, I don't know. It's against premier, elite talent. Alabama is one of the most stacked rosters in the nation. Probably, besides Georgia, the second best defense in the nation. And Cincinnati has some players, but they're not on the same level as Alabama. We'll see though. We'll see. I do like him. You guys can see some of the scouting report on him right here. Again, can't give too much because I haven't watched enough film, just going off of the game, just going off of the games I've seen. But I like the leader in him. He's scrappy, and I think, could take a little bit of time, but I think he can be a starter in this league with the right development, with the right coaching. So we'll see if we're able to do it. Okay, so now on to our third round pick, and here, I wanted to go safety here, but the best available safety was ranked like 90 something, I believe. So I don't think that's good value. You want to take a position in need, but not when the value isn't there. So I think here we definitely could take linebacker. I mean, they're saying right now our biggest positions of need are interior offensive line and tackle. I don't see the tackle part. Interior offensive line, maybe we need some more depth there, but linebacker is definitely, no doubt, over interior offensive line. So there's some guys I like here. Quay Walker out of Georgia, he's definitely someone I'm thinking about, but and Brandon Smith is good, but I think he's more of an outside linebacker. The guy I think I'm looking for, and I keep picking him, so I'm, next time I'll try to be a little bit different, but I really like Chad Muma out of Wyoming. Let's go ahead and look at his stats. So he's about 6'3", 242 pounds, had a breakout year in 2021, 140 tackles, 85 solo tackles, 1 pass defended, and 1.5 sacks, and 3 interceptions with 2 touchdowns. I'm going to try to keep it a little bit quick since it is 4 rounds, so the video isn't too long for you guys, but I do really like Chad Muma, and he can be a true middle linebacker for you. And that is exactly what Washington needs. And Chad Muma, I mean, you might say, not playing great competition, it's Wyoming. Well, that is true. But, I mean, Logan Wilson, who has been a stud for the Bengals lately, he played at Wyoming, and he's been a great linebacker for them. Had an interception in that game against the Titans and had a bunch of big plays. So I do think his game can translate to the NFL. And, I mean, I think he would be a good fit for us here. And, he could be a player where you still sign a veteran, but you have Chad Muma as a backup, develop him for a year, and really unleash him in 2023. Either way, though, I think he would be a great pick for us. He can call the defense once he is ready. And, yeah, that's a pick for me at, 73 overall. Okay, so now we are on our 4th round pick, which will be the final pick of today's mock draft. And there's a bunch of different spots we could go here, but I really wanted to go interior offensive line, but there's such good value at the safety position that I think I'm gonna go ahead and take VERONE McKinley, the 3rd out of Oregon. I think he's a ball hawk. He's a ball hawk, and we need a safety, especially a free safety, and I do think he can play the free safety position for us. I think that's one of our bigger needs. It has it listed right here as the biggest need. I don't necessarily agree with that. I think it's in the top 4, but not the biggest need. I think linebacker, quarterback are definitely above it, and I would list receiver as well above it, and then it's probably safety, interior offensive line. This is where I wanted to make the pick for interior offensive line in the 4th round. And, the 3rd to 4th round is where I want to pick, a guard, whether, he starts year 1 or he develops into depth. And year 2, he's a starter for us because Brandon Sheriff is likely going to leave. But let's go ahead, take VERONE McKinley out of Oregon. I really, really like him. About 5'11", 190 pounds. You look at his stats, 6 interceptions this past season and a forced fumble. I believe he also recovered a fumble as well. I watched a lot of his games because I am an Oregon fan, and I mean, he's just always in the right place at the right time. So I think the picks might be a little bit misleading because a lot of them are just deflections, and he's right there. But nonetheless, I mean, that's what you want in a safety. And 6 interceptions, that doesn't happen on accident. He has 11 interceptions in the last 3 years. No touchdowns, though. But still, I really, really do like him, and I think he can. And he's a good tackler on the perimeter as well. So I think he could be. I don't know if he's going to be here in the 4th, though. I think it's probably going to be more of a 3rd round pick. But if we can get him in the 4th, I think he would be really good. And this is a scenario where, you can have Vi McCain start year 1 and have, McKinley go in and out of the lineup and eventually overtake Bob McCain, whether it's this year or the next year, at the very minimum, building some really good depth. So that's going to be it for today's mock draft. Let me know what you guys think. I mean, I got a quarterback in the second in Desmond Ridder and still, added a great offensive weapon to our offense in Garrett Wilson. Built up our defense a little bit, getting Chad Muma and VERONE McKinley. So I think I did a pretty good job. Let me know what you guys think. Thanks for watching. Hope you guys enjoyed, and peace.